Our first guest tonight is the world-famous investigative journalist and New York Times best-selling author Peter Schweizer, president of the Government Accountability Institute. And he's back with another new book, this one just as full of bombshells as the last. It's titled Blood Money: Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. And it hit bookshelves on February 27th, so make sure you go out and get your copy today. Peter, thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Great. So there's just so much to get into with your new book. And of course, last night was the State of the Union, where Biden was reading his puppet master script about flaunting the left's power while seriously downplaying true issues facing the nation, such as fentanyl. Given what you write about in your new book, is it a no-brainer as to why Biden would downplay the fentanyl crisis and its origins in China?
No, I don't think it's a surprise at all. In the State of the Union address, he never talked about China. And when he talked about fentanyl, it was brief. And he talked about basically getting equipment that was going to help prevent fentanyl from getting across the border, which is really a ridiculous notion in the sense that that's not going to fix this problem. The bottom line is that the Biden family got $5 million in a forgivable interest-free loan in 2017 from the business partner of a Chinese criminal gang leader named White Wolf, who set up the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico and made them the kings of fentanyl. So there's literally 1 degree of separation between the first family and those that are sending this poison into the United States, killing 100,000 people every year. It's now the leading cause of death for people under the age of 45. And there are millions of reasons why Joe Biden does not want to talk about this issue.
That's very interesting. I hadn't heard that before. Is that why perhaps that, as you talk about in your book, that when we talk about the fentanyl epidemic, the overdose epidemic that's taking so many young lives, that it's actually far more of a China problem than it is a Mexican drug cartel issue?
Absolutely. The Chinese are the senior partners in this. The Mexican drug cartels are the junior partners. A lot of people know the fentanyl precursors, the chemicals that make fentanyl, come from China. But every other part of this process is dominated by China. Those precursors go into a port in Mexico called Manzanillo. That port is actually run by a Chinese company. Those precursors are then sent to a town in northern Mexico where 2,000 Chinese nationals actually help the Mexican drug cartels create this fentanyl poisoning. To deliver this fentanyl, because most people dying of overdoses think they're taking something else. They don't know that they're taking fentanyl. Their drug cartels need pill presses and they need molds that make this fentanyl look like a pill. Well, they get those from where? They get them from China. Once the fentanyl is made, the Mexican drug cartels need secure communications to communicate without U.S. law enforcement knowing what they're doing. Of course, the Mexican drug cartels use Chinese apps and Chinese communication devices to do so because they know that China will not share that with U.S. law enforcement. And then the final part of the puzzle is the money laundering. Drug cartels need to launder money. In the old days of cocaine, it was laundered through Latin American banks. The Mexican drug cartels now launder their money through Chinese state-owned banks, and they often use Chinese exchange students in the United States on education visas to do so. So this is a Chinese operation, much more so than a Mexican drug cartel operation.
And everything that you're saying really is hitting home, I think, for so many people watching right now. You know, even in my own local area, you read about in the news, the local news, so many young teenagers and young adults are being found deceased in their rooms, being found deceased in the bathrooms of restaurants even. And by and large, it's because they bought a pill that they didn't know was fentanyl or was laced with fentanyl. So it's exactly as you were saying. They think that they're buying one type of drug, and I'm not endorsing that, right? You know, I don't think kids should be going out and going on Snapchat and whatever else they do to try and buy what they think are prescription pills. But of course, that's what a lot of young people do. A lot of cartels and otherwise, they reach out to young people on social media and then they get right to their doorstep. They get these pills, and oftentimes, as you're saying, they are laced with fentanyl. And so then we see these overdose deaths, and it's so horrific to watch.